The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh, got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throb in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Podcast coming to you Sunday, November 24th, 2024. It's actually the first solo pod we've done in a little while, should I say? Ooh. How you guys doing, by the way, guys? It is Thanksgiving week here. Oh, not just here, but everywhere. And it's actually my favorite time of year, actually, the holidays. Not this, well, specific Thanksgiving Day, I love because of food, football, and family. Although this year, I feel like this year might be a little bit let down, I think. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't have a lot of plans for Thanksgiving this year. I'll do my usual, with my family in the morning. We do breakfast and the parades and stuff with the wife because she loves watching the parades. And then then after that, we do what we do. We go to my mom's house or wherever place we had planned to go into. This year, my wife, unfortunately, is going to be working for a chunk of the day. So we won't have her the entire day. I'm probably going to see my mom. We'll see if that plays out, but that's the plan early. But there's nothing really set in stone as of right now as recording. Now, that could change this couple of days, but maybe a little bit like that this year. We'll see. I look forward to the holidays. I always look for the holidays. But we'll see how this week goes. I don't have any massive expectations right now of what's going to happen this week. So there's that. It is football Sunday. You're probably surprised here. I'm actually recording this at 6:45 p.m. on a Sunday in the middle of the 4:00 sessions for the NFL games. But I'm not, honestly, today I'm one of those days where I did watch. I had a red zone in the background, but lately I feel like football has been kind of like, not every week, but there's been some weeks where like the NFL has felt like background noise to me. Well, like I have the games on, but I'm not like engaged the way I normally am every Sunday. I don't know if I've been busy doing stuff with the kids, and there's a lot going on. I don't know. Maybe I'm losing interest again in football. I remember there was a time a couple of years ago where like I kind of hit peak fandom of football, and then I just kind of like felt disinterested. Now people are gonna say, "Oh, you're a Giants fan, so of course the Giants stink this year. The worst team in football right now, and therefore you feel that way." And no, that has nothing to do with it at all. The Giants have stunk the last 13 years, for the better part of the last 13 years. But I've always still been, into the game. I've always still been into it, and some degree. This year, like I'm still into it this year, obviously, and we talk about it in the podcast a lot and all that. But like this week, was one of those things like I had it on, but I was like fully engaged. And I know there's some wild finishes today. For example, with the early games, with the the Bears and Vikings game, and then the Commanders and Cowboys game, too. Crazy finishes. We'll obviously cover the week at large during the week once everything's wrapped up. Although I don't think we're gonna have a student game report this week. I think Kyle's gonna be out of town this week, and while we probably could make time to do an episode, I don't know if we'll be able to make that happen because I have my nieces this week. They're gonna be here a couple of days for the week, and I kind of want to enjoy this week with my kids too, especially as they're on vacation. So we do have pods scheduled this week, but I don't know if we'll have the report this week. Well, if we do, it'll be a surprise for you guys. And if we can make it work at some point, we will. Like I said, there's still pods happening this week, but I'm not gonna go crazy as much because typically we record that podcast with Kyle normally at the on Tuesday morning/afternoons while the kids are at school, but there's no school this week since it's Thanksgiving week. So like I said, I want to spend time with my kids as much as I could. If it means sacrificing some podcasts that I normally would do, then so be it, right? So but we touched on the Giants, of course. And the name of this episode is called "Thank You Dimes, but It's Time," because we saw last week the benching of Daniel Jones, and then he was relegated to not only the third string but also to the practice squad. And then Friday we find out that he gets cut by the team. They mutually parted ways. It's one of those things where at the end of the day, he knew this was coming. Obviously, he had signed a 4-year extension at $160 million, and obviously at the time it was very critical and rightly criticized for how much money he got. But as I said back then, I also defended the deal at the time because I also knew that within the language of the contract, it was really a 2-year deal, not a 4-year deal. And obviously within 2 years, if things were not on the up and up with Jones and the Giants and the team were not improving, the team would probably end up parting ways with them. And obviously it's going to happen. Like, obviously him getting benched was obviously the first clue that's going to happen. But then the fact that they actually went with it and actually released him immediately during the season is actually still kind of shocking, to be honest with you. The statement from John Mara, President John Mara, on Daniel Jones, from Friday, he says, Daniel came to see me this morning and asked if we could release him. We mutually agreed that would be best for him and for the team. Daniel has been a great representative of our organization, first class in every way. His handling of the situation yesterday exemplifies just that. We are all disappointed how things have worked out. We hold Daniel in high regard and have a great appreciation for him. We wish him nothing but the best in the future. I will say, as much as I've crapped on him for the last couple of years, Daniel Jones has actually handled the situation as classy as he could. Like, he didn't badmouth the organization, he didn't badmouth any teammates. He just did his thing. He took his benching, he took his medicine. He got paid, so I'm not feeling sorry from there. But at the same time, he has handled the situation as good as he's going to get. There's reports that possibly the Ravens and possibly another team I heard earlier that could be in the market for him, because obviously he'll clear waivers tomorrow. But obviously very disappointing 6 years here. First off, he shouldn't have gotten drafted as high as he was. This was not a Joe Shane, Brian Daboll acquisition or a draft pick. This was actually David Gettleman, who drafted him 6th in 2018. That was a mistake. I even said it then, not that he wasn't good enough, but the fact that he was an unproven commodity, and you waste that draft pick so high on a guy that was so unproven, that had very little much of a career at Duke, and solely going on the whims and the advice of Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, and others. And I get that you follow those guys, and those guys are Hall of Famers. Are going to be Hall of Famers. You want to obviously lean into the advice, but at the same time, draft him that high when no one was going to take that guy that high. My issue was not the fact they drafted him; it's the fact they drafted him that high. And then you have, of course, 2022 when he had his best season, albeit I said even in real time at the time that part of the reason why Brian Daboll deserved Coach of the Year was because of the fact that they had Daniel Jones on a leash. That was the first year he didn't turn the ball over at a reckless abandon like he used to. And that's why, it ended up being a kind of a rock and a hard place for the Giants, because they ended up going 9-8 that year, or 10-8 rather, because they won the playoff game. And Daniel Jones ended up getting a new contract out of it. And to the point where it actually shut out Saquon Barkley, and it really affected how they look at Saquon Barkley for the future. And of course, the year after that, they let him walk to Philadelphia. And a lot of people blame Daniel Jones' contract and them valuing Daniel Jones in time as the reason why. I would argue, though, that Daniel Jones was a Giant mainly because of the Mara family. I think the Maras wanted him here, not necessarily Joe Shane and Brian Daboll. I have criticism for the Mara family about how they do certain things. As much as I appreciate the Giants, I've been a Giant fan for 30 plus years. The fact they gave him the money they did, although again only a 2-year deal, you want to get ahead of the curve because you didn't want to pay the guy $6 million if he ended up having another great career year. I understood that at the time, but at the same time, the kid had raw talent, but he just didn't get the job done, and he couldn't stay healthy on top of that too. Also, and the writing was on the wall. The writing was on the wall pretty early. I mean, from week one this year, I came in the year with very low expectations for Daniel Jones, and week one up the shoot, Daniel Jones with a beard didn't matter. it was a failure. And we knew it was coming. It was coming all along. So again, he will clear waivers tomorrow. There's rumors that the teams like the Niners, teams like the Ravens may sign him as a backup, possibly. But I was thinking about this too, also with Daniel Jones' future. Like, he is obviously a very talented guy. He's obviously it didn't work obviously in New York. But I'm not silly, or I do think there's still a possibility he'll have a future somewhere in the league. That he could at the very least compete for a starting job. And you look at the right now the entire NFL environment. You look at all the teams right now currently. Right now, obviously this is going to change depending on draft positions after the end of the year, because obviously you're going to have the Shedeur Sanders of the world coming to the draft. Hopefully, also Cam Ward in Miami also coming to the draft as well too. So depending on what teams line up at the end of the year, if they need a quarterback, there's going to be a lot more jobs out there or opportunities for Daniel Jones to get. Certainly he'll be a backup somewhere, but he'll definitely get possible looks at competing for a starting job somewhere. And there's a lot more jobs you realize. You go down the list. I'll go through right now. There's not more. The Dolphin situation. I'm going to show you the situation right now that you look at that are not very fluid right now. Like, obviously there are teams that know who their quarterback is going next year. Like, if you're a Chiefs fan, Patrick Lamar Mahomes II is the quarterback for the Chiefs next year. Next year Lamar Jackson is his quarterback for the Ravens. Josh Allen's quarterback for the Bills. Those are fluid. Conversations and situations right now where they know their quarterback who they are is next year, barring injury going forward. But there are a lot more situations that are not very fluid. The Dolphins, for instance. Now, look, Tua has played very well since coming back from injury. But again, the issue with Tua is more so the injuries. Is he going to be healthy rest of the year? And if he has another hit between now and then, who's to say the Dolphins decide to force him to retire? That's the situation you can look at. Okay, going forward. The Patriots, Drake May is probably the future of the team. He's given a little spark, but that doesn't mean that the Pats are necessarily sold on him either, and they could bring in Daniel Jones to compete for a starting job to kind of put a little pressure on Drake May. I can see that happening. The Jets. There's rumors now that Aaron Rodgers might be gone from the team before the year is over, and that's another situation now that Daniel Jones could probably fit in. Okay, let's go to AFC North. The Browns, Deshaun Watson, depends what happens to him. I mean, who's to say James Winston will be back next year? Deshaun Watson is on a contract, but again, that's a situation where it's very untenable right now. So you have that situation. The Steelers, who's to say that they don't bring back neither Justin Fields or Russell Wilson next year with that situation going on right now in Pittsburgh? That's another one. Of course, in AFC South, the Tennessee Titans. I mean, Will Levis has been a disappointment this year. So obviously that's another situation you could look at. The Jaguars are fine. The Texans are fine, obviously. Who am I missing there? Houston, Jacksonville, the Colts, AR-15, Anthony Richardson. Obviously, very controversial, not very consistent. I would say that would be a situation you could look at, possibly. Bring him in for maybe push Anthony Richardson. Make a competition there. Who knows? AFC West, obviously the Chiefs and Mahomes are set. Bo Nix is going to be future of the Broncos, obviously, now as time goes on. The Raiders, another one. The Raiders are another situation that you could look at. Minshew's the quarterback, but he's not the answer for the future. The Chargers are set with Herbert. NFC East. Now, of course, the Giants are out of the picture now because they just had them. The Cowboys situation with Dak Prescott. Who knows? Who knows? Dak Prescott with that situation. That can be something to look at. If they decide to trade him or whatever, I doubt it happens. But it's on the lower list of teams that can do something about it. But it's not. But I will say it's not as 100% fluid as you realize. And Jerry Jones is as crazy as Jerry Jones is. He can be very unpredictable too. Also on top of that, the rest of the East is fine. NFC North, obviously Packers, Jordan Love is fine. The Vikings, okay. Obviously Sam Darnold had a great year. J.J. McCarthy is the future though. That team. Bears and Caleb Williams is fine. Albeit it's a little disappointing, but I still think they'll run that out still another year or two. The Lions, Jared Goff is fine, of course. NFC South, the Saints and Derek Carr, obviously that's an untenable situation. The Falcons, while they have Kirk Cousins, that's obviously a fluid situation. They got ready to draft Micah Penix Jr. last year, so I doubt they'll bring a third guy in. The Bucs, Baker Mayfield, I think is fine. Honestly, I think he's had a really good year, honestly, despite all the injuries. The Panthers, another situation you can look at, and Bryce Young. Bryce Young, now he played well today against Kansas City, but again, that's not completely fluid either. And then you look at the NFC West. I'm going to shock you guys with one here. Seattle, of course, with Geno Smith. He's been up and down this year. He's going to his last year's deal next year, so who knows? They could bring in Daniel Jones. Who knows? The Cardinals and Kyler Murray, I think, is fine. The Rams is interesting because I predicted when the year started that Matthew Stafford would retire by the end of the year, especially gets hurt. I know he got it the early in the year once, but that's keep an eye on that situation because if Stafford does retire, that's another situation. And then my wild card here is the Niners. Now I say that knowing that Brock Purdy has had a really good year actually, but he's up for a new deal very soon. Do they want to pay him? Is he worth $60 million? They've had a down year this year, obviously, albeit because of injuries. And if you add his salary now to the books, that might keep the team even more restricted to bring in talent, especially given the injuries they have now. So that's a situation you could look at that maybe they're bringing Dan Jones for cheap because this is what they've done anyway with Kyle Shanahan is bringing quarterbacks on the cheap and make that system work. Dan Jones could be included in that as well too, but we'll see. So those are the situations right now I believe that are not fluid, that not saying it's going to happen, but just keep an eye on those situations for next year that if indeed things shake out to where moves are made or trades are made or injuries or even retirements happen, that Daniel Jones could possibly fit in those situations, hypothetically speaking. I'm not making predictions on that because obviously, as you heard today, that when he clears waivers, 2 teams are interested in signing him for this year. The Niners heard of one, and the Ravens the other. Obviously, he'll be a backup with the Ravens, of course. The Niners, depending on how bad Brock Purdy's injury is, maybe he can be a starter in there going forward, and maybe he can save their season. Who knows? But those situations are what I would say to look out for this coming off season, especially too what happens going forward. So there's that. Again, you look, I've been critical of Daniel Jones, and I continue to be critical of Daniel Jones, but he was a class act in the way he's handled the situation. And we thank him. Thank you, Dimes, but it's time. It was time. And we'll see if the Giants now can fall apart. And I'm not into the whole tanking thing. I never have been really. I wanted to embrace tanking, especially for my teams, but I'm there. I want to be able to draft a quarterback and start fresh. This was a mistake. This was a mistake 6 years ago. It was a mistake to get an extension 2 years ago, and now we have to correct the mistakes of Dave Gettleman. I think the only issue now is this, because reports came out today also too that Joe Schoen is likely to keep his job going forward next year, which I think is the right move. Brian Daboll, I don't know if it was the same. My opinion again is that the Giants should stick it out with Daboll and Schoen. Allow them to draft a quarterback moving forward. Okay, you want the Giants to lose games going forward, so you can draft the best quarterback available in the draft and start fresh. Once they draft the quarterback, now we'll see if the Giants are going to be if they can actually make this right. Okay, because that was not a Joe Schoen draft. That was a David Gettleman pick up there. So, but we'll see how it plays out there. Anyway, a couple things got to get out of here. I don't want to go too long on this one. Health update. I actually went to see a doctor recently. My 3-month update, of course. I haven't gone in 6 months, actually, to be honest with you. Some things are good, some things aren't so much. My A1C went up a little bit this month. Of course, you know what A1C is. A1C is where your sugar levels are overall. I'm obviously, I told you guys almost 2 years ago now. I'm diabetic, type 2 diabetic. Working on the numbers have been shrinking over the course of the last 2 years, but my numbers went up a little bit this month. I'm working on reversing that now, getting more stricter on food, more stricter on my diet. I still intermittent fast all the time, which is easy, but it's been tough really to stay strict with it. It really has been tough to stay strict with my nutrition, because I love carbs, and every once in a while I drink a lot of water, yes, but I do once in a while like to drink a soda here and there, or drink a juice here and there, and it's tough. It's really tough. But I got to get back to the meat and bones of my nutrition again. High blood pressure, of course, too. I also deal with that as well. That's been controlled, but still I want to take control of that. My triglycerides are fine though. Everything else is pretty decent for the most part, within range. But I really want to get strict And the hard part now is that we're going to a time of year where, for me, it's tough because Thanksgiving this week. So you want to have fun and still indulge a little bit, but not go overboard. And then next month, of course, December. Yes, it's Christmas. And yes, I have all the Christmas parties and all the gatherings you go to. But I also have a lot of birthdays and stuff, birthdays and anniversaries I celebrate in this month too. Also, on my dad's birthday, my brother's birthday, my nephew's birthday, my other nephew's birthday, aunt's birthday. I mean, and the thing is, I say that I'm not trying to pile on here and make, but the thing is, we celebrate those things all the time as a family. So because of that, I'm always indulging in food and stuff and whatnot, and this time of year, and it's actually a lot tougher. So, excuse me, I got to find a way to navigate that, find a way to balance that out. And I luckily the weather's been nice recently, so I've started walking a lot again recently, which is good. That's good for my mental health, especially too. But that is the situation for me right now when it comes to my health. So hopefully when I go back in February, my numbers shrink again where it should be, and get back to normal where I'm at. So, social media. I know we got sort of new social media platform, Blue Sky. Everybody seems to be migrating there now. I got an account there, of course. When you want to add me on Blue Sky, I'm at EJ Christian 7 on Blue Sky. I know a lot of it is framed because a lot of people who are liberals and especially since post-election, Trump winning the election 3 weeks ago now. Damn, that time flow with that. That people are now flocking to Blue Sky now because X, formerly Twitter, has now become a right-wing echo chamber, which there's definitely some truth to that, definitely. But I won't give up my Twitter account just yet. I know I have said in the past though that it has crossed my mind to doing it, mostly because some of the content there has been really garbage, honestly. And that has nothing to do with politics at all, because I actually like to have people who I follow who I disagree with on politics, or whatever. But there's some things on there. It's been kind of like some of the things that Elon's been doing on there lately. I don't necessarily agree with either. Some of the things he's decided to change in terms of like how he runs the actual platform. Not necessarily agree with it either. And it has nothing to do with the politics. It has to do mostly with the actual operating service of Twitter. So I know I thought about possibly changing, deactivating my account there, but you know what? I'm just gonna limit my time there, as I've been doing anyway. And I honestly, limit my time on social media in general anyway, because I'm not really, I think it's healthy to be offline. Honestly, while the election that took a lot out of me. Obviously, I wasn't a fan of the result, but I understood and I, respect people's decision. The people have spoken. Donald Trump will be our next president in January, and he'll be my president. I don't have to like the decision that was happening there, but at the same time, I respect it. But I will say I have backed away. I know I've done some content, last couple weeks about the election post and all that, but I have backed away a little bit with the day-to-day on politics, a little bit. Trying to get back to like my content again. I've been watching a couple months rather. Books I'm getting back into again. I'm trying to round out my social life a little bit more. Have more conversations with my friends, going out with my friends more often. Just trying to be a little more me, and that's less online all the time, and trying to be a little more well-rounded. More time with my wife and my kids, especially too. So that's been my priority there. So, but yeah. Blue Sky, if you have a Blue Sky account, I'm on there. I'll follow you back. Follow me. EJ Christian 7 on Blue Sky. Another thing also too. Last Friday rather. And a surprise. The new Kendrick Lamar album dropped. This past Friday. What's the name of the album again? It was called G something. G and X was called. Let me bring it up real quick. Yeah, G and X. Yeah, out of nowhere. I haven't finished the entire album yet though, but I'm almost done with it. I fucking love it. I love it. Very, very heavily West Coast based, West Coast sound. Yeah, he's the best thing going right now, hip hop right now. And you know me, I don't proclaim to be a hip hop connoisseur, although I was one probably 20, 30 years ago. Obviously, I'm very well when it comes to music in general. I'm well rounded because it's not just one genre I focus into. I'm into a wide scope of things. Obviously, I love hip hop. I also love pop music. I also love metal. I love everything. You know what I'm saying? And hip hop for me the last 20 years, especially too, has not been a priority for me. Like there's always hit or miss. Like the artists I love, obviously, I'm always gonna love. I love Busta Rhymes, obviously. Even though Kanye West has gone nuts, I still listen to Kanye West. Although some of his late work hasn't been that great, but still, he's still his top level work has been top level still. But there really have been any great hip hop artists I've been into in the last 10, 15 years that I really gravitated to real heavily. Like I like J. Cole. J. Cole's fine. Drake has hit or misses, but I'm not a Drake guy, but by all means, he's not my. So I'm not target artist for Drake. And you have guys hit or miss that guys that are still out 20, 30 years that still put out material that of course I love. But in terms of newer artists, I have not really gravitated new artists. The only artist in the last 10, 15 years I really have become a huge fan of is Kendrick Lamar. And this new material is phenomenal. And I remember my brother sent me a text saying, oh, the new K-Dot just dropped. I'm like, oh, really? And he said West Coast. I'm like, and the first thing comes to mind when I hear West Coast is music. And I'm a musician, so I appreciate it more. I actually appreciate that. I think of music, I think of musical, musical. Like it's more musical and more creative. I always found that, and especially as I got older, because I remember back in the day, back in the 90s when the whole East-West thing back in the day. And I would always have the East naturally because I'm a New Yorker. So I did it out of the allegiance of my birth. But to be quite honest with you, looking back in hindsight, the West Coast was putting out probably better material than the East was in wider scope, wider swath rather. And a lot of it's because of the music, because it sounded very musical. But that being said, this album with Kendrick Lamar, I'm almost done with it. I haven't finished the whole thing yet. It follows just that. You released this record in 1995, 1996 with Tupac's live still. It was still like hotcakes because it's great. It's authentic. It's authentic to who Kendrick Lamar is, and that culture in LA. And I love that he still has not. He's still huge and still big, and still authentic, and still true to who he is. And the sound has not compromised. In fact, he pays more tribute to the sound of what made him who he is in the West Coast, and doesn't sell out for nothing. So shout out to Kendrick Lamar for a phenomenal record, which I'm almost done listening to. And it's a great job by K-Dot for another great record. I mean, right now, this is his year. He's owned Drake this year. He's owned Drake this year, obviously, with the not like us, beef between him and Drake this year. He's owning everything here. He's going to be doing the Super Bowl halftime show in February rather. He's going to have he's going to have the rails for the next 6 months. And all Drake can do is just sit there and watch it and like it. Sit there and just deal with it as it comes until, and not to say Drake's career is over, because it won't be obviously over. Drake's too big. But right now, this is not Drake's time. So there's that. All right, before we get out of here, quick podcast update here. You guys probably maybe noticed the last couple of days on this feed on the audio side. You've noticed a couple of episodes of. So you guys know I have a wrestling retro podcast. I've started a couple of years ago and had its own feed. And you probably guys noticed I some of the episodes have been popping up. The old shows have been popping up on this feed in the last couple of days. Well, the reason why that's happened is because I decided to kill that feed. Because I don't do that show enough to keep it. And honestly, I rather have the eyeballs and the attention on, if I want to give that show more attention, it's more prudent for me to bring it on this feed. Obviously, this feed has a lot more hits. A lot of people subscribe to this podcast. So I'd rather give the exposure of that show onto this feed. Plus the fact I don't do that show enough as it is anyway to justify having its own podcast feed. I the last episode I recorded actually was in May, and that wasn't on purpose. It just kind of happened that way. And we've been trying to do a new episode recently, but it's been a little while. But I realized that just feed it into here, into this spot. So I decided to kill the feed there, migrate the stuff from that feed onto this one, and kill the feed. I'm also, like I've been saying, I'll do that the basketball retro podcast I've been wanting to start. There was a episode I did back in middle of 2023. I did. That's also migrated as well to on this feed as well too. I killed the feed as well too. So once I start doing those shows again, it'll be done. It'll be on the audio side. Will be available on this feed. Now on my YouTube page, however, they do have its own home. So on the YouTube page, on my YouTube page at Earnest EJ Christian, or at Earnest Christian on YouTube, those shows do have its own like podcast feeds on play or / playlist, we want to call that, on YouTube. So you'll have it on there as well. But on the audio side, going forward, we'll have anytime I do a show relating to the wrestling retrospective or basketball retrospective on the road. Once we do that next year, will be available on this feed on the audio side. The Unfiltered show, which I've been doing off and on for a long time, but especially a lot in the last couple months. We're turning that now into a strictly a video series, and I know I've done a lot of episodes recently where I'll be on audio doing a quick hit on something in my car or wherever, randomly audio only, and just put it out to the masses. But I decided now, because I also like doing a lot of reaction videos, and sometimes they don't really fit the feed here, because this is a little more long form. Unfiltered is more short form in the moment, but I also enjoy reacting to things, especially to on the internet, videos that I want to talk about, that's topic centric. So what I decided to do is, going forward, we'll keep, obviously that feed's going to exist still. We call it the B side of this podcast. We're going to do the Unfiltered as a video only series going forward. Well, of course, like I said, it'll have its own feed still on audio. Have its own feed, obviously, on the video side as well too. But it's all in my YouTube page at youtube.com/Earnest Christian. So that's the latest update here on the podcast in itself. Actually went longer than I wanted to go, but it's fine. Again, I am on. What am I on? Twitter /X EJ7, Blue Sky EJ7, YouTube.com, as I said, /Earnest Christian. And other than that, we will talk soon. God bless y'all. And if I don't, well, do another podcast before Thanksgiving, obviously. But if I don't do another solo podcast, happy Thanksgiving. All right. Love you guys. Take care and see ya.
Thank you.